OK, well now, as part of a massive change in the way benefits are paid, universal credit is being rolled out later this year. Some benefits will be paid directly to claimants, with the money coming through monthly rather than weekly, and you'll have to claim online. So how will it really work out? Well, we can get a glimpse from two East Midlands councils who've been piloting different aspects of the scheme. Patsy Francis has been finding out more.
Tina Given is on the up. A few weeks ago, the homeless mum of 3 was out of work. Now she has a part-time job as a carer and is staying with her brother, all thanks to her local council, Melton Borough, which is trialling universal credit.
Basically, I was in a lot of debt. I was in a really bad place. I didn't know where to go or who to ask for help in the first place. So as I got deeper into it, I just thought there was no chance of getting out of this.
With the help of her employment advisor, Tina has been able to move on.
Sat and prioritised my life with the help of Gemma and the support, but she's not prompting me in which direction I should go, just being there and listening to me and helping me to go forward.
Tina's local council here in Melton volunteered to pilot the scheme, and they say what happens in this building is key to its success. The council moved into brand new offices 2 years ago and invited other agencies to move in with it. It means the open plan spaces are shared by social workers, CAB advisors, and Job Centre Plus is about to move in too.
The pilot is focused on our working age benefit claimants, of which we have about 1,800. As universal credit, when it comes in, will be a digital by default service. We need to look at how we can help people and support people to be able to access and manage their claims digitally.
It's a similar story in neighbouring Rushcliffe Borough Council in Nottinghamshire. It's taking part in the pilot too, ensuring people have access to online services.
They can come in to the reception and get a self-service access. For those people who can get access but are maybe a bit confused, that we can help them find their way through. And then there are the people who are maybe involved with other agencies. So we are offering an integrated system where we can actually talk and introduce them to other agencies as well.
These councils are looking at small parts of what will be a radical overhaul of benefits. At Melton, they found that around 30% of the people they deal with need help using online services.
It's the biggest change to the welfare system in a generation. So we don't underestimate those challenges, but certainly we're having some success in terms of how we're working with people at an individual level, and we're cautiously optimistic that the partnership working that we're putting in place will give people that support that they need in a way that is better than they've ever had before.
Well, everything now is looking more positive and coming out of the dark side into the light.
Both councils have found that by working smarter, they can target people effectively, but they also know it's a challenge, especially for larger councils. Rushcliffe has around 4,000 people on housing benefit, and when you cross Trent Bridge to Nottingham, that figure changes to around 40,000 people. And it's only when large authorities like this roll out the benefit changes that we'll know the true impact.
Yes, Andrew, it's one thing, isn't it, trying it out in places like Melton and Rushcliffe, but bring it to our bigger cities and it'll be a different story, won't it?
Well, that's why it's been tried out in smaller areas to start with. Universal credit is an enormously important policy, not only for those on welfare, but also for the credibility of the coalition government and its policies. It's absolutely totemic for us, and Ian Duncan-Smith's his department have done a lot of work on this. Great benefit. I'm really pleased that those on it and administering it are very optimistic in the pilots. There are going to be glitches, but they've got to be ironed out now so that when it moves forward in October this year, it's as smooth as possible. OK,
well, doesn't it make sense, though, Lillian, to encourage people to look after their own affairs? And when we saw the difference it made in Tina's life,
I don't think anyone would argue that it's in our interest to help people move forward. My worry is that looked at local authorities and what they're doing to help administer the universal credit, and yet they're not responsible for administering universal credit. When we had the welfare reform bill, I was on the committee, lots of people expressing concern about the 30% of people who need help with making applications online, but local authorities haven't been given any extra resources to help them provide that help. I think it's going to be a real concern when it comes to
what do you say to that?
Well, the figures show that 78% of those on benefits could handle their online themselves. They've got that capacity, right. And the rest can have help through the job centre or the council. And
what about those people who can't, though? I mean, that's what we're talking about here,
they
isn't
could
it?
go into the council and be helped.
Well, who in the council is going to do that? We've had huge cutbacks in Nottingham City. They don't have resources. They've not been given resources to help coach people through using the universal credit online, let alone, you know, there's many people who don't have any access to IT at home. You know, I'm
That's a point, isn't it?
extremely
You've got a
worried
point.
about
Not
it.
everybody's linked up to the internet,
the
are
job
they?
centre does, though, doesn't it? The job centre has access.
But lots of job centres have closed, haven't they?
There will be the capacity in the system to do it between the council and the job centre.
Well, I think that's wishful
There were some
thinking.
signs, of course, that it could work.
I think
it is working.
The idea of universal credit is not a bad one, and the principle of bringing all benefits together was something that Labour supported. Ironically, they've taken council tax benefit out of the universal credit and localised that, which obviously is going to start having an impact on my constituents very soon. But the other issue around universal credit is that already the timetable for introducing it has slipped, and there are real concerns about the computer system and whether it's going to be ready. I think this potentially will be an absolute disaster.
Okay, what would you do then?
Well, I think they should have slowed it down, and they should have looked at having proper support in place to enable people who don't have IT skills to perhaps use IT. I mean, obviously Tina had a great deal of personal support, but a lot of my constituents go into the job centre. They feel like they're on a conveyor belt. They're lucky if they get a couple of minutes with an advisor. To get some of the people who are long-term unemployed or have been unemployed, perhaps never had a job, they need real intensive support over a long period, and a lot of them just aren't getting it.
I guess the big question is, are the resources there to help those who really need it?
Well, this isn't going to be a big bang policy. It's going to be a gradual rollout, and the resources will be made available. I actually think that you'll actually have parts of the country who are later on in the rollout of universal credit actually be saying, why haven't we got universal credit? And I think that's what's going to happen.
Well, I think the figures from the government's own impact assessment also show 2.8 million households are going to end up with less money as a result of the introduction of universal credit, including 1.7 million families. I think when people start to see the money that's arriving in their purses and wallets going down, they're going to be
There is a lot of concern about this, Andrew. You can't deny that.
But those most vulnerable, the poorest, are going to be on average £168 a month better off under universal credit. You have a system where work always pays, and because the universal credit is whether you're in work or out of work.
And Labour would dispute those
You will be able to
figures.
take temporary work without losing all your benefits.
And that's simply not true. They're going to be huge cliff edges. At the moment, people who are on out-of-work benefits, they might get free school meals for their families. There'll be people who have to give up work or reduce their hours in order to make sure they're not hitting a huge cliff edge. I think there are lots of questions remaining about universal credit that which really need to be answered.
Well, both I and Ian Duncan-Smith will dispute those figures, but we will see, because people will come on the ground. The pilot there showed that people are actually very keen on it.
I guess what another concern is, though, Andrew, is there's so much all at once. All these changes, it's not just the universal credit that's changing, it's all the other ones as well. It's too much altogether, perhaps. That's a big worry for people.
Well, as long as the system works and the pilots are being carried out, people seem perfectly happy with it. So how can we say it's not working?
People aren't going to be happy when, for the first time, they're going to be required to pay council tax, that they don't know how on earth they're going to find that money. People who are living in their family home, the same home they've been living in for years and years, who are suddenly being hit by the bedroom tax. People in Nottingham South are incredibly worried. These are the people on the very lowest incomes, and they do not know how they're going to make ends meet.
OK, well, we'll have to leave it there.